Ever have those days, or maybe weeks, where you feel like you're being pulled in a million different directions? Today, we're tackling one of life's biggest challenges: how to stay true to your calling when everything seems designed to throw you off course. So let's dive in. So, I want to start with a question, just for you. In the middle of all the noise, all the expectations, and the daily grind, what's that one fixed point that guides you? What is your North Star? And that's exactly what we're talking about today. See, your calling, that unique God-given purpose for your life, well, that is your North Star. It's the constant you can navigate by, even when everything else feels totally chaotic and uncertain. But hey, let's be real here. This journey, it's almost never a straight line, is it? It's a path that's absolutely filled with challenges. We're going to break down how to navigate the fog of distraction, the valley of doubt, the trap of comparison, and even the storm of opposition. So, what's the key to getting through all that? It really comes down to one word: focus. I mean, just take the Apostle Paul, who wrote these words. This guy was facing imprisonment, persecution, truly unimaginable hardship. But his secret? It was this incredible, singular focus. His eyes weren't on the prison walls around him, they were locked on the calling ahead of him. And that mindset, that's what we're aiming for. Okay, so let's jump into the first major hurdle, that everyday fog of distraction. This one is sneaky. It's probably the most subtle, but also the most constant force, pulling us away from our true purpose. And here's the really tricky part, right? Distractions aren't always these obviously bad things. Sometimes they're actually good opportunities. A new job offer, a really promising project, a social commitment. But here's the bottom line. If it's not your opportunity, if it doesn't line up with your North Star, then it's still a distraction. The story behind this quote is just fantastic. There was this guy, Nehemiah, and he was in charge of this massive project, rebuilding the protective walls of Jerusalem. So his enemies, they're trying everything to get him off track, luring him away with meetings, making threats, but his response was always the same. I am carrying on a great project and I cannot come down. He was basically saying, my mission is way too important to be distracted. Talk about absolute clarity. So how do we actually do this? How do we get that Nehemiah-level focus? Well, first, you've got to clarify your mission. Actually write it down. It makes it real, it makes it visible. Second, you have to set boundaries. Look, learning to say no isn't about being mean or difficult. It's about protecting the time and energy that your calling demands. And finally, you have to prioritize your connection with God. That's where the calling came from in the first place, and that's the compass that will keep you pointed in the right direction. All right, next up, we're facing a challenge that's completely internal. I'm talking about the valley of doubt. You know that sinking feeling? That little whisper in your head that says, maybe you heard wrong, or you're definitely not good enough for this. Yeah, it's a place we all visit at some point on the journey. And if you've ever felt that, I want you to know you are not alone. Not at all. Doubt is just an inevitable part of the journey. It whispers these questions that honestly can completely paralyze you if you let them. So the key isn't trying to avoid doubt altogether, but knowing how to navigate through it when it shows up. And this right here, this is the kind of promise that becomes your anchor in that storm of doubt. Think about this for a second. Even John the Baptist, the guy who literally announced Jesus' arrival, had this moment of intense doubt while he was sitting in a prison cell. He actually sent messengers to ask Jesus, are you really the one? So when doubt hits even the strongest people, it tells us we have to cling to promises like this one, not to our feelings, which can change in a heartbeat. So what does this look like practically? Well, first, pray for confirmation. Take your doubts and lay them right out before God. Second, seek out encouragement. Please don't try to wrestle with doubt all by yourself. Let trusted friends speak truth back to you. And finally, take some time to reflect on God's faithfulness. Just look back at your life. Look at the track record. That history, that's the evidence you need to build faith for whatever's next. All right, let's move on to our third challenge. In this one is especially powerful in our super connected world. It's the trap of comparison. And it really is a subtle poison to your purpose. And you can see the two mindsets so clearly here. On one side, you've got comparison. When you compare your path to someone else's, it only leads to a dead end of envy, discontentment, and insecurity. But on the other side, focusing on your own unique journey, the one you were actually given, that's where you find real purpose, faithfulness, and significance. The simple truth is this: your calling is tailor made for you. It's not supposed to look like anyone else's. So trying to measure it against someone else's journey is just pointless. You're called to carry your own load, not theirs. Okay, so how do we guard our hearts against this? Well, it starts with being really intentional with social media. If it's a trigger for you, maybe you need to limit it. Then, make an active choice to celebrate other people's successes. Remember, their win is not your loss. And finally, just keep bringing your focus back again and again to the unique path that's right in front of you. That's where your real work is. Okay, let's tackle our final trial on this journey. And this one is external, and it can feel the most intimidating of all. I'm talking about the storm of opposition. This is what happens when you face active resistance, maybe even criticism, for just following your calling.
Now, here is a really powerful way to reframe this. We often think that opposition means we must be doing something wrong. But you know what? A lot of the time, it's actually a sign you're doing something right. Think about it. Purposeful work disrupts things. It challenges the way things are. It shakes up the status quo. And that kind of change is always going to be met with some resistance.
I mean, this was the exact response from the Apostle Peter after the authorities ordered him to stop preaching. Just let that sink in. These guys had been thrown in prison, they had been beaten, but their conviction was totally unshakable. They understood that their ultimate loyalty wasn't to human critics, but to their divine calling. So how do you persevere when that storm hits? First, you gotta put on the armor of God. That's all about spiritually and mentally preparing yourself for the day's challenges. Second, stay in community. Opposition loves to isolate you, so you have to lean on your people, on your supporters. And third, keep your eyes fixed on eternity. When you remember the bigger picture, it helps you see that today's struggles are temporary, but your calling, that has eternal. Wow, okay, we've covered a lot of ground, haven't we? The fog of distraction, the valley of doubt, the trap of comparison, the storm of opposition. So let's bring it all home with one final and really crucial mindset shift. And this is so important to hear. This journey, it is not about being flawless. You're going to stumble. You're going to get distracted. You will absolutely have moments of doubt. The goal isn't perfection, it's faithfulness. It's all about getting back up, recalibrating your inner compass to that North Star, and just taking the next faithful step. So, we end right back where we started, with your North Star. And I hope you see now that it's not just some nice idea. It is God's specific, unique, and deeply personal calling for your life. A purpose that literally only you can fulfill. And that, right there, is why staying true to it matters more than anything else. So now, it all comes down to application. Let's not let this just be interesting information, let's make it transformational. So my final question for you is this: what is one practical step you will take this week to align yourself just a little more closely with your North Star? Really think about it, and then go do it.